Hey guys, Art13131 here, and we are in week 3. Right here, week 3, and we're going to talk about assignment number 5. So, let's get right down to business here. This assignment is drawing your hand covered in plastic wrap. And I'll show you an example of that. It's not a hand, but it's a face. I have other examples of hands, but the same idea here, this more dramatic drawing, very perfect drawing. Basically what you're doing is showing the plastic wrap over your hand. In this case, it's a face. So all the shading in the face is there. Some is backed out possibly by erasing out tone, and then erasing out where the reflection mark on the plastic is from light source. You'll see this when you put the plastic wrap around your hand and you have a single light source like we have been talking about since the beginning of the semester. Whether that be from the window or you're actually outside, and I would be in a shaded area maybe where you could see the reflections, but it's not lit up completely by the sun if you're outside. But if you're using the window light, that's a good one. Possibly again in a shadow area away from the direct sunlight. And if you're using a lamp, then use a single lamp to the left or the right so you can have good contrast on the fingers of the hand. But this is just to show you here sort of a dramatic take on that. I will show you some student drawings that are a little less dramatic than that face, but they still get the point across. The hand is shaded inside the plastic. There's light and dark areas to the hand, to the fingers, where the light is coming. The light is coming from this direction on this one, the right. And so part of the fingers on the back side, on the left, are darker. Same with the hand as it curves around. Same with this dipped in area here, might have an actual shadow from the thumb on there. And the thumb too. And then it gradually goes into the lighter side where the light is actually catching. So this is a gradual transition, just as was discussed in the Light Logic video and Holding the Pencil video. There were shading demonstrations showing if you press lightly, you get very light tones. If you press a little harder and a little harder and a little harder, you're going to go into the darker tones. And within all those tones, you probably are having at least 7 levels of tones, from the very lightest to the very darkest. And that's what you want to do here with the hand. Now, once you have done that, the plastic will have dark and lights to it as well, like you see here. Dark and lights, and then reflection marks from your light source on the plastic where the folds are and where the stretch marks are. They're going to light up a lot more than just the plastic itself. And then there's going to be places in the plastic that are transparent. So this is what you're trying to accomplish in doing all this. Here's another take on it. I think the hand was very strong. The plastic wrap, we know it's there. It's a little more transparent than not, but there are a lot of nuance to the plastic wrap. So you can do it your way. It doesn't have to be one way. This is another good one. It's very faint, but it's definitely there. There's a little bit of a... Now, as you notice in all these, the plastic wrap was more than not tucked around the hand. This one not as much. This one, yes, very tucked around the hand. And we're not talking about a plastic bag. We're talking about plastic wrap, like saran wrap or stretch wrap, cut off a piece of it, tuck it around your hand in one position or the other. It can be the back side or the front side that you're showing. Take a photo of it if you have to, or just draw from that, but your model. But it'll be your hand in front of you. You're not just making this up, okay? You're actually looking at your hand in plastic wrap. If you take a photo of it and work from the photo, hopefully the photo's big enough to see all the details. Here again is the same idea, but everybody does it differently. But they erased out with a thin eraser tip the reflection marks, and then backed that up with a little bit of a shadowing or a shading underneath each. So where those stretch marks are, they're basically lifted up or perforated out from the flat or smoothness of the plastic. So it would create a shadow underneath each fold or each stretch where it's bunched up. And so this is strong drawing because you can see that there's something there. It bunches up. It's kind of lifted up from the shadow and the reflection mark on it. So this is a strong drawing too. They're all different. Here's another one I have. Very strange. Almost looks like a goo or a gel on there. But the point is, it's a strong drawing. The hand looks real because of the shading. It's not just under there with a border around the whole thing. Border lines around hands and other things aren't really the best way to draw. It's better to draw with just the shading. Maybe a line now and then, but mostly it's the shading that ended here, and then there's no shading on the finger because it ended there. It's really not a border line drawn around everything. Because when you really look at your hand, there's no border line around your fingers. Look at your hand. There's no line around the fingers or the hand. It's all the shading that ended up stopping and the background now is showing, or the table or whatever's behind it. That's all it is. So some of these are really exhibiting that. Some are using a very faint line. It's not necessarily accurate with what you're actually looking at, but I can see why people do it. This is using the shading very well, where the shading just ended there and not a border line. Shading just ended here, ended here, ended here. All around the fingers and the hand, the shading just ended, and there's not really a border line drawn. That's more accurate. Look at your hand when you have it out in front of you. There's no border line around the hand. It's just the shading tones that are the color of your hand just ended, and then you have another color of the background now. When you're using graphite, which is gray to black, you are just showing all the color, the dark and light tints and shades of your color in your hand. You're using the graphite for that, for dark and light shade tones. Okay, so I think that about covers it. You got a good bunch of examples here. Look at your hand when you're doing this, and you'll come up with your way to do it. But I definitely want to see that the plastic wrap is over the hand. The hand is shaded. The plastic has its own shading tones and transparent areas, plus the reflection marks from the light source, the very lightest areas on the hand, right in here and around here, that all coming around. But it doesn't tightly, some places are tighter than others as you wrap this around your hand. Don't just lay it on your hand like a big sheet. Wrap it around your hand so it's kind of tight on there, or at least loosely tight, but not just laying over your hand like a sheet of plastic laying straight over your hand. No, you want to wrap it around. Okay, and then you're just practicing I'm using a material over your physical hand, your organic hand, and you're shading that hand and then this other material that's over it. And so there's two things going on here, but you want to accomplish both. You want the image of that plastic wrapped around your hand and your hand in it. Everything gets shaded, okay? Everything has proportion. So whatever position you're putting your hand in, get those, lightly sketch out what proportions the fingers are to each other and where they're placed in the hand, one longer than the other, or one curved more than the other. Just notice everything about it and draw it in. Then start the shading process. Really, you want sort of a gesture drawing of the hand. Maybe start shading the hand before applying the plastic around it. And then you're going to go with the plastic, a little bit of an edge around, shading here and there, and then erasing out over the fingers and over the hand where those stretch marks are. And that's going to show definitely that there's something over the hand. But immediately we know that when we're looking on this two-dimensional plane drawing, you're creating a three-dimension with all your shading and the reflection marks. And then our mind says, yeah, there's something on that hand. There's some plastic or something transparent over it. And it's stretched here, 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 stretched, all the stretch marks and the different tones that are in that stretch mark. So study these. There's 5 different ways to do it. Okay? And pause the video and study each one, or whatever's relating to you with what you're seeing and what your capabilities are. Try to do that. But remember, it's all about light and dark shading. There's 7 different tones in there. There's no strong border lines. It's just a shading that ends. And one thing ends to the other. And without a lot of heavy border lines. Okay. I'll leave it at that. And then if you haven't sent me a lot of work, we're in week 3 now. You should definitely have sent me all of week 1. And then week 2 should be sent to me by the end of this week. And then on like that. We're going to talk about the midterm presentation, which is going to be in week 5. I'll talk about that next week. I might talk about it a little bit later in the week when I post another video for number 6 and homework. Okay? All right.